Okay, so here we are, folks. Sunday, 5 p.m. book club time. All right. And I guess you all know, I mean, you've been with us for quite some time, and you know that we've been around for quite some time. So the other day, somebody asked me, so when did your book club begin? Thinking post-COVID, probably. So no, folks, it started in the year 2000.
That's remarkable,
Wasn't it
really. Let's have a party.
prehistoric or something? It sounds like we should, and we will. Latika, it's on the anvil, okay? So our book club is actually completing 25 years of existence.
Remarkable, you kept it going.
Without a break. Can you imagine? There have been times where we got fed up, we got tired, and we said enough. But always someone said, no, we can't let this stop. And so we picked ourselves up, and we've had wonderful people like Chetan and Sunita with us who have helped tremendously, especially for this transition to Zoom. Huh? I mean, I'm a sort of zero on anything technological. And I said, look, I can't do this. When Chetan suggested it, I said, I can't do it. And he said, no, I'll show you. And now look at Sunita, Chetan is too busy or he's not there. She is there. And she is willing to hold my hand. She offered me a tutorial. Can it get better than that? So thank you. Thank you very much. Snober, who never has said no when I've asked her to do something. And she has done a superlative job each time. I'm sure it's going to be the same today as well. Thank you, everybody. Latika, Mukul, they've all presented. Sunita's a great presenter herself. Kaveri, brilliant on, what's that? The Tomb of Sand. And now she's going to be talking to an author next time. Wonderful. Okay, so here we go. This time, today, we are discussing Rohinton Mistry's debut novel. Now, I think most of us are familiar with A Fine Balance. That's the one I read. I loved it. I loved it so much. But how much pain, how much suffering. Oh my God. So, Snober, I'm waiting to find out, is this also that painful? And, I'm waiting to hear what Snober says about the stature of this writer in comparison to the other giants that have emerged from India in the field of writing in English. They're all a gawk. Over to you, Snober.
Thanks, Moini. So yes, I have this disclaimer that I need to put out there. I have never been part of a book club. I am primarily a teacher. So when I come here, I end up taking lectures, which is not perhaps the best. I put it here. I talk too much. Please intervene, and we can agree to disagree, and we must be political. And of course, this is for my students, that if you do disagree, we must intervene with respect. I don't need to say that to you, but I'm having a really bad time with my new. Okay. So yeah, quickly let's put this out there.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
There's some peculiar sound coming from somewhere. Has everyone please muted their mics? Everybody, except for Snober. Everybody, please mute your mics, please. Thank you. And let's get going now.
So yeah, we'll have to unmute now, because just quickly to ask everybody, what does each one of you think is the purpose to art? When
Is the purpose
yeah
of art?
art, yeah.
To be beautiful, of course, to delight,
Of course.
to add that aesthetic dimension,
of course, to
life,
entertain, to delight, to be beautiful. What else?
to
it also is an adventure and it's also a calm. So for me, it's both, I'm an artist, a calligrapher. So when I pursue my calligraphy, sometimes it's an adventure because I'm exploring new things. Sometimes it's calm because, it's settling me down. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that we always think like that, and we're right to think like that. Um, we must remember we are primarily studying, literature as art, and like Moini says, we want to understand what is it that makes it beautiful. Moini also said that, does he match up to the other stalwarts? So, is his work memorable enough? We talk about the timelessness. Moini was my teacher. She said it all the time, and basically to understand what is it that made this work of art work? Why did we like it? Why did we find it beautiful? Um, so I'm gathering none of you read the text.
I did not manage to
That's
find the
okay.
book. Could not find the book.
It's okay, but y'all did talk about his other work, and you did said that there was a lot of pain. I tried to read Family Matters, and I got so sad that I didn't complete the book. And Chetan, I don't know if Mukul was part of it, but Chetan was. I had this I got this research grant on the Parsis. And, I was kind of thinking about it, like, did I know Parsis like this? And he doesn't deal with that typical privileged class of Parsis that we, associate the community with. And I interviewed Sunita Araporwala. Sunita Araporwala is a filmmaker. She also has written the script to many of, she's done a lot for Meera Nair, and she did the film screenplay for Such a Long Journey, which is an award-winning movie. And I told her, I said, I feel that his vision is very bleak. And she said, I don't think so. She said, I feel it's real. And that kind of, took me by surprise. Sometimes we like to be in denial. But quickly, again, when just putting this through that when we talk about, let me see what is in the chat. When we talk about a novel, Vispi said he read it long ago. Vispi, you want to put down, you see, you're a Parsi too, I gather. So what did you feel about, the characters in the novel? Whilst he's typing, we normally talk about these typical things, right? As when we study what makes it work, and you do Aristotle, you talk about plot and character and theme and setting and all of these things. And Vispi wrote, what has Vispi written? Oh, you saw the movie this afternoon. Okay. Yes. Always the difference between, I tell you, if you read the book, what I love the most about the book is how beautiful the writing is. We always, as teachers, inform our students that, beware, of getting into the life of the author, what is his intention. We're focusing first on the work of art. And as a community of readers who are informed, we're going to be able to comment on the text. Having said that, when I'm saying I'm focusing on the text as a work of art, you also, on the other hand, have to realize it's a cultural artifact. It's something that's manufactured, it's published, it's consumed by a particular audience that's being targeted. And the fact is, everything is political, and nobody thought of a work of art as political. You have to ask yourself, who manufactures the work of art? Who's funding it? So when you look at the back of the book, It says won 1992 Commonwealth Prize. All right. It gives you a sweet summary. It gives you quotes from the Spectator and the New York Times Book Review. If you look below, you will see F and F, Faber and Faber. For all of us who are literature people, we associate that with T.S. Eliot, very prestigious. All right. What I'm giving you 2 minutes to look at this, and I want you to tell me if you feel anything's missing from this. Can you see the back of the book? Hardworking Clark, devoted to his family, sees his life unraveling, daughter falls ill, son defies father's ambition, receives a letter from an old friend, drawn into this dangerous network of fraud and betrayal. All right, it's a humane work, fascinating. Does anybody feel something's missing? So it doesn't mention anything about it being an Indian story or about it being, let alone forget Parsi story at all. These are things to think about. Why? Why don't they say he is a Parsi Indian clerk living in Bombay? Maybe these things don't sell. So going back to my research project, it was how will the Parsis be remembered? And, we talk of them either being the fool, the Yera Parsi, you have your character in this book, or you have the opium trade and the drug dealer. You have, of course, the gay Parsi. Then you have Das Pig Zarathustra, the Antichrist. And then you have to ask yourself, you're really being full of yourself if you think the Parsis are going to be remembered at all. Tatas will be remembered. Maybe they won't remember that they were Parsi, just like Homi Baba and so many other things, which is fine. But that's why when a community is on the brink of extinction, it's nice that it's written about or discussed or documented. And that's why publishing is so important. We talk about characters and types of characters that we have. And the main characters in this story. So again, so often you will talk about this, your flat characters. Flat is so unfair because flat characters are my favorite, because you always identify with them. I tell everyone, I'm a Monica. Those of you who watch Friends, I'm a Monica. Or those of you who are Harry Potter people, I will say I'm Ravenclaw, and my daughter will say, no, you're Hufflepuff. These are character types. And you have those in every story because that's what kind of holds up the text. And then you have, of course, those unique characters who, are different. And then you have caricatures. A lot of the characters I feel in this book especially are caricatures or exaggerations, of what people would be. And then of course, I love this, we use this big word called intertextuality. Intertextuality is that we don't live isolated. We have read and we've watched, and somehow those things connect to each other and they find themselves in our writing. And so Gustave Noble, look at his name, Noble as the surname is, and yet reminds you of King Lear, that ranting old man who's losing control of things, and wants his children to obey and love and respect. And then, of course, you go Dilnawaz from the heart, she's noble from the heart. You have his 3 children, Sorab and Darius. These are famous Persian kings. Roshan is light. All right. Then you have the neighbors, starting with Jimmy Billamoria. And that's the whole other part of the story. One is the whole family saga. Father gets the, son makes his dream. We all do that, right? We force our dreams on our children. And, the father didn't make it, but the son makes it into IIT and makes his father's dream come true. And then he says he wants to do arts. Oh my God, I did science because I didn't want people to know I wanted to do arts. And it was only after doing my 11th and 12th of science that I did my BSc and then I switched to arts. That's how it was. And this father's like, oh my God, you got into IIT and you want to break my dream that has just come true. So you have the family saga. But then you've got my favorite genre, which is good old fashioned, James Bond, Mission Impossible, and you've got major, spy thriller, noir kind of writing, Jimmy Moria, all right, who was, uh, but Jimmy Moria is actually based on a historical fact that there was this Parsi guy and he was involved with this kind of a scam. And there was this kind of, mysterious, money that went from here to there. So you've got the spy thriller. Then you've got Temul Langara. He is your archetypal fool. Even in King Lear, he has his fool who is wise and wonderful and silly and speaks truths and gets away with it. And yet, sort of becomes a scapegoat for everybody. Then you've got Miss Katpitia. She is like Miss Havisham, all right. She keeps the house just the way it is, because she wants to, have time stand still because she was struck by a tragedy. And then you've got old Sherlock Holmes, Police Inspector Bamji. And my another favorite character is the dogwala, all right, Mr. Rabadi, and his daughter Jasmine, who is one plump little thing and has fallen in love again. Poor Gustad feels betrayed by all his children. Sorab gets into IIT and refuses to go. Darius goes and falls in love with his art enemy, Rabadi Dogwala, all right, and his clumpy little daughter Jasmine. And then you've got his friends. You've got his childhood friend, Malcolm Saldana, and you've got Dinshawji. Dinshawji is the other fool in this story. He is typical Parsi humor, bad jokes, and again, a caricature. And behind all of that, he's a good friend. And of course, there is a tragedy there. Then, of course, you have to have your femme fatale, who's Laurie Coutinho, another stereotype, the Christian secretary. You've got Dr. Paymaster, and you've got Ghulam Muhammad. Ghulam Muhammad is Major Billamoria's right-hand man. So the setting, anybody recognizes what this would be? I mean, if you know Bombay, this is your...
Kushbuba.
It could be, yes, Kushubag. It's a bag. It's a Parsi bag.
Parsi colony.
Parsi colony. It could be any of them. All right. This is that typical style that you have. And the typical thing, if anyone has been young in a bag, it's a nightmare because you have those old aunties standing there on the balcony looking down and gossiping about who this girl is talking to, who she's brought in, all right, most stressful, all right. So there's Khodadat building, set in Bombay in India around the 1970s. But then there are other places in Bombay, and we are the lot that will still say Bombay. We're not yet Mumbaikars, there is the Bombay trace. So you've got Flora Fountain, that's now Hutatma Chowk, the Tower of Silence, Parsi General Hospital, and of course there is a moment in Delhi. This is a small clip of the movie, but I don't think we have time to see it because of me. And I don't know if you can hear it. Can you hear it? Can you hear sound? No, no?
Yes, ma'am.
There is sound, but it's not clear.
Very pale, but we can.
When you host the chicken, I'm telling
Very
you,
pale.
engineer to graduate from IIT. What does the chicken have anything to do with engineering? Huh? Getting upset with just a little joke. It's not just a little joke. You're driving me crazy with your IIT nonsense.
Don't raise your voice at Daddy. We are feeling very happy about it. What else?
After hard work in office, he went to market. 2 grown-up boys in the house, and it's a disgrace that your father has to do the bazaar. When he was your age, he paid his own college fees and supported his parents.
Then can we keep it forever? You know, I tell you, my grandmother's house now, my grandmother lived in Chennai, and we got a chicken, and I love the chicken so much. I gave the chicken a name. The chicken was called Juju. Then I went at the poor chicken. I put a collar on the chicken and I dragged the chicken around the yard, all right, saying I'm taking Juju for a walk. And then one day, Juju mysteriously disappeared. And I went to my grandmother's cook and I said, "Where's Juju?" And the cook said that Juju was very promiscuous. She had a boyfriend over the wall and she ran away with the boyfriend. And I was horrified. And then we had chicken for dinner. And I didn't eat it. But that's the situation over here. All right, you see this whole, that's the thing about maybe he becomes symbolic of the Parsis in general, that we live in the past, maybe because it's a dwindling present and I don't know if there's much of a future. So he brings this chicken because he believes that a fresh chicken is the best, and he wants to celebrate Roshan's birthday and the whole IIT selection, and it doesn't work out very well. Gustad's past is a past of broken dreams. It's a past of accidents, whether it be his father losing everything, whether it be the accident that causes him his limb. The next major thing that happens is this competition, and Roshan wins the lottery, which is this giant doll. And again, that's really funny, because we Indians, especially in the 1970s, we didn't get fancy dolls and things like that. So when we got them, rather than play with them, we treated them like a work of art. And then they end up packing up the doll because they're so scared that something's going to happen to it. The next major thing that happens is that, he gets a book from Billamoria, and there's suspense. Who is this Major Billamoria? What is this book? Why is Gustad Noble so angry with him? And of course, Sorab is so fed up with his father forcing him to join IIT that he leaves the house. In the book, there's a letter that kind of tells Gustad that he needs to go and, do something. And when Gustad doesn't do it, he gets these kind of threatening messages like a bandicoot with its head cut off. Of course, you have all this comedy of him fighting with Mr. Rabadi over the newspapers and over the relationship between Darius and the daughter. And you have all that, the comic kind of Parsi language. I told Mohini to share that with you. I don't know if she did, but there's this really funny video of this guy, about the Parsis. And he's so overacts and he's so fun. But you kind of see it again in that caricature. There is that certain element. And then you have, Dinshaw-ji at work, constantly sort of making lewd remarks about Laurie Coutinho so that he can get, all the sort of that toxic masculinity where you want, men's approbation because, you can make derisive sexual comments about somebody, and it's uncomfortable. And Laurie sort of complains to Gustad, which tells you about Gustad as a person. He is noble. He's somebody you feel comfortable and safe with. So coming back to this, on the right-hand side, we talk about plots. So when you talk about a plot, you talk about a complex plot. A complex plot would have a rising action, a climax, and a falling action. You would also have perhaps multiple plots. So there is the family saga, then there is the side story of this whole sort of, suspense thriller. Who is this Major Billamoria? What's going on over there? You have comic plots. Comic plots do not mean laughter. Comic plots means a happy ending. It means there is love, there is conflict, there is love, there is laughter, overcoming the conflict and ending in a marriage and a feast and a celebration. Satire typically is critical. You want people to be aware. There's a whole mystery element over here. So there is a lot of political satire. This book was banned. It was prescribed at Bombay University, and then it was banned because of, the political controversial stuff in it. And there is laughter and humor. It is not as depressing as perhaps Family Matters, but the comedy is very dark. Uh, uh, there was a song that I used to listen to. It was my dad's LP, and the singer was called Neil Sedaka. And he used to sing this song. His famous song was Oh Carol, but there was another song which was The King of Clowns is Crying All the Time. And that's typical again in comedy. We all wear masks. And then you have the demasking or the unmasking, and you realize that, things are not quite as they seem. And, also you tend to overcompensate. So when something is so overwhelmingly perhaps not going right in your life, then you overcompensate by laughing more. And, it's a way of coping. And that's what you realize about Dinshaji, that he drops the comic mask, and then you realize that he's genuinely very ill. Of course, there is at the moment of sort of, comic frustration, there is the wall. This is so India, and everybody urinates on the wall. And Gustav's house is over there, and the smell is driving him mad, and the mosquitoes are driving him mad. And then he's walking, and he sees a street artist, and he gets a street artist to paint the wall with all the different gods. And people start urinating there, they start throwing money, and it becomes a shrine to go and worship, and really, after I read this book, I remember noticing that if you go to hospitals and you take the stairs, they will put pictures of gods on the corner so people don't spit. And we Indians, we are so wonderfully superstitious. We don't spit when there are pictures of gods. All right. So anyway, you have the next thing happening, which is that Ghulam Muhammad threatens them. Jimmy went. He was part of RAW, which is, your elite kind of, spy network. And he put pressure on Gustave Noble, all right, to take this money and deposit it in the bank. And Dinshaji helps him. And then, all right, he says, you have to withdraw the money now. And how do they do it without getting into trouble? And that's where Dinshaji really is a good friend, all right? He's withdrawing it in small amounts, but then when he realizes he's dying, he starts speeding it up, all right? Mysteriously, Roshan's doll gets stolen. Now, Aristotle, and I just love it that I can go back to someone who wrote in the 4th century, and I can justify things in the 20th century based on that. And Aristotle says that if you put something in your plot, it must have a purpose. Otherwise, don't put it in your plot. So you've got Roshan's doll, that she wins. And then the doll that mysteriously gets stolen, all right, which is again, a blank in the text that you're wondering, how do I fill that blank? And of course, you've got Gustave so angry. He's so angry with everybody. He feels betrayed by his boys. His daughter's terribly sick. He feels betrayed by his best friend, Major Billamoria, who disappeared suddenly and then kind of arm twists him to do something that's not noble and goes against him. And then he gets this message that, come and meet me in Delhi. And Gustave doesn't want to do that. He's so angry. Of course, Roshan's tummy, again, talking about, things that we don't talk about, which is, the quality of water and hygiene. And Gustave is so desperate, you know, so he goes, you know, he wants to get her something healthy to eat. He meets his old friend. There's a small digression on, again, a political issue about beef, how you can't have it. And he will go to Mount Mary, which again, you know, this is so Bombay. If you've lived in Bombay, you will know there's Mount Mary, then there is, now at this moment, what is that mosque in the sea? You know, what is that mosque that is right in the
Haji Ali.
Haji Ali, exactly. The paradox of Bombay, you know, and you have Ghulam Muhammad coming and begging Gustave to meet Jimmy because he's dying. And he finds out that Jimmy's been tricked. He was an informant for the government. They've turned on him. He's in jail and he's dying. And you have your first funeral, which is not Jimmy who dies, but it's Dinshaji who dies. And at that point, you know, when you talk about an existential crisis, we will all go through this in our life. Questions of death and loneliness and who are we, what is our identity? Do we really have the freedom to be who we want to be? Do we have the freedom to do what we want to do? Is there really any purpose or meaning to life if we're all just going to just snuff out like that? And this crisis hits us at different points in our life, and we sort of resolve it. And in the funeral of his friend, he finds that elegiac consolation, which is that he finds an answer to what is upsetting him. And we'll come to that. Dinshaji passes away, but that, you know, death is triggering, but it also reminds us to live. And I think that becomes a trigger. And Gustave feels that whilst, you know, whilst Jimmy is alive, I must go and meet him. And he goes and he meets Jimmy in jail. He hears his story. And I've written there, Sorab, Nagarwala, and Malhotra, and the scam of 60 lakhs. All right, this is what it's based on. I wanted to read from the text for you to understand how beautiful his writing is. So the Dasurji cantilated the verses of the ancient Avesta, and the notes and syllables were intoned, and they mingled with the sounds of the night. Steadily from the trees and the bushes rose the voices of night and nature, and from all the lush vegetation that grew here on the hill, around the Tower of Silence, the murmuring of leafhoppers and tree dwellers, winged and crawling, ascended Dungarwadi towards the Tower of Silence. Their murmurings blended with the sandalwood and loban, and prayer music floating forth from the room with the oil lamp. And Gustave understood it all. And this whole meaninglessness of death for him gets meaning through the cycles of nature. And just like everything in nature comes and goes, he sort of makes his peace and he understands that. And I wanted to show this to you. This is what the Tower of Silence looks like. You know, when the Zoroastrians were in Iran, and then they got sort of invaded by the Muslims, and they were driven up. Either some came to India by boat, some got driven up to the mountains. So it became really difficult to dig graves. You do have Parsi graveyards, they're called Aramgars, but on top of a mountain, you build this kind of wall. And the whole idea is that, and that's where he finds his consolation. The whole idea is that we come from nature and we must go back to nature. Like in Christianity, you say ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We came from the earth, we go back to the earth. I want you to understand how green this is. The same well, we call it the well, you know, in prime location, you know, Malabar Hill. And how many of these Parsi prime properties are disappearing and are being usurped. Authentic representation of a family in a Parsi environment. But again, I'm going to say this is a particular class of Parsis. It's not the richest class of people seem to forget that all Parsis are not the Tatas and all Parsis are not rich. Yes, we don't have, though I do remember as a child, I do remember a Parsi beggar, but we're so few that we can be taken care of by whatever trust there are. So also the backdrop is the war, all right? And when the war siren goes out, Gustad is worried about Temul Langra, who is the special mentally challenged person of the society, the grown man. And he finds Temul with Gustad's doll, and he understands. And that's the kindness of Gustad, because he lets Temul keep the doll and he doesn't tell anybody. There is a tragic scene where Temul has collected all this money and he's gone to the prostitutes who are right next to Dr. Paymaster. And even the prostitutes will not take his money and treat him as a customer. So what is this boy supposed to do? You have the next funeral where it's written in the papers that Billamoria died of a heart attack. And of course, the whole idea is the deception of between what is written in the press and what actually happens. And he goes for the funeral again to the Dungarwadi. And he's wondering who arranged the funeral, which again hints at this really uncomfortable thing about the Parsis. We use this as a sort of we justify it, saying that, when we came to India, we made a deal with Jadi Rana, the king of Gujarat, and that's why we keep our sort of ritual secret. But having said that, it's also very exclusive. We cut people out. We're not very kind to people who marry, into our community. Things are changing because we're just so few of us. But I remember when I went to my father's funeral, and allow me to be emotional. I remember coming out and my mother's friends, and they were about 5 women who had all lost their husbands, and they were waiting for her. And I just felt so upset that these wonderful ladies who will be a greater support to my mother because they understand the loss, had to wait outside rather than wait inside with her. And I find no justification for that. And even if you look at Sataravala beautiful book, it's Parsis, I'm looking at it from here, but my eyesight is so bad. The Zoroastrians of India. There is a picture of a fire temple, and it says only no non-Parsis allowed, and there's a dog sitting there. And we'll allow the dog in, but we won't allow the non-Parsi. It's ridiculous. And then even worse was when I went for my Masi, my mother's cousin. Her daughter married a Maharashtrian, and I saw her husband and her 2 children sitting outside while she was sitting inside for the funeral. And I can't find any justification for that at all. It's unacceptable to me. So anyway, Ghulam Muhammad organizes the funeral, but he is sitting down in the cab because, he is not. And then you have the last funeral, which is, there is this big morcha that is happening, all right? And Malcolm Saldana is the one who works for the municipal corporation. Look at how it all comes together. And they want to demolish the wall to widen the road. And there are riots. And what happens is a rock hits Temul Langara on the head and he dies. And that is your third funeral. And Temul's death is mitigated or compensated by Sorab coming. And it is in that death that father and son sort of reunite. And at the end of the story, you have the artist who leaves, and he leaves with nothing. That wall is gone, the art is gone, Temul is gone. And so I would like you to think, my mother has come to take me, but I want you to think about the characters. All right. I want you to think about how the Parsis are represented, foolishness and wisdom in the story. I want you to think about the role of memories, but I want to read a few lines for you. First of all, the title, Such a Long Journey. Whose journey is it? So he began, will you tell mommy now? There is the whole, at the beginning, he has like an epigraph where he will first quote from Firdausi Shahnama. And he says that, how was it that they were able to live free of care during the days of their heroic labors? Then you have the next quotation of T.S. Eliot's Journey of the Magi. And many, many people forget that the word Magi comes from magic. And the Magi were the Zoroastrian priests, not three kings. And they were stargazer, following yonder star. We all sang those Christmas carols I didn't know that there was Zoroastrian stargazers and priests, whilst I sang every year. Sunita and I were in the same music school. And in those days, we lived close by. So when Christmas was coming, we went every day for carol singing. And I didn't know that I was singing about the Zoroastrian priests. And of course, Tagore, and the final quotation from Gitanjali. The journey the Parsis made from Iran all the way to India. Of course, you've got Gustave Noble's journey as well. Or that you have so many symbolic things within the text that, Nazar and black magic and all of that. I just wanted you to read this. More than that, Gustave living in the past and how he opens the book and he says, a rich, timeless fragrance rose from the precious pages, soothing his uneasy, confused spirit. And of course, the books that belonged to his college days, the only books that he managed to keep, those books become symbolic of everything that he's lost. I want his, again, a question of what it's like to be a minority. What kind of life was Sorab going to look forward to? No future for minorities with all these fascist Shiv Sena politics and Marathi language nonsense. It was going to be like the black people in America, twice as good as the white man to get half as much. I don't know whether that really happened to the Parsis, but we are definitely outsiders. I was telling, I don't know if I told Mohini, but when I did my orientation course, we do it when we become teachers. And it's a very sweet Maharashtrian guy came and told me that, he said, you must change your name. So I said, why? And he said, Nay, you must change your name to Satarakar, and I was like, you change your name. But he was being sweet and terrible because he first thought I was Muslim with the Wala surname, and he wanted me to be Maharashtrian and therefore Satarakar, and this sort of, we are the in-betweens. We are the in-betweens. We are on the margins, which is good sometimes. I'm grateful for that. Look at this, how beautifully he writes. The answers were not easy to come by. They lay in the garden of the past, which memory had dug up and replanted in plots of its own choosing. Replanted in plots of its own choosing, not pots, but plots. of its own choosing. The seed of Sorab's troubles had germinated long ago, long before last night, when his parents discovered how easily things came to their firstborn at home, in school, at work, or at play. There seemed nothing that Sorab could not do. The fools in this story, Temul Langara, and yet he's the moral meter. The way people treat him makes you realize what kind of people they are. Dinshaji, the clown with the mask. Kavas ji Pastakya shouting at the sky like a lunatic. Miss Katpatia, the witch. All right. Do you really know Parsi is like this? I don't know. I want to conclude with this, where when Roshan's his daughter's loose motions are becoming worse, he says, the fledgling bits of hope that he'd been nurturing all day took wing, like the sparrows that chirped in the compound's solitary tree, but flew away if the landmaster backfired. Gustav's hope circled over his head and departed. If it were possible to, he would have leapt up to hold on to it. Really beautiful, beautiful writing. Things to discuss. You could talk about to me, what I love about this novel is the language. It really is poetic. And that is why, for me, the movie will never. It's like, Moini, I never came for your presentation of The Handmaid's Tale. But The Handmaid's Tale, if you read the book, it's beautiful. When you watch the TV serial, it's disturbing. So another thing to talk about, is it okay to use poetry to cover up the disturbing? These are things to think about. What do you feel? Is that doing an injustice to the wrong that's happening by covering it up with beauty? These are things to think about. And so, yes, what do you all have to say? Mohini disappeared on me.
More speak.
Hmm.
Moini,
Can I ask a question? Oh, go ahead, Satish.
no, Moini is better. Moini,
You're welcome. Anyone can. I thought maybe Visby might be the best person, because she has read the book and she is Parsi. I just wondered, Snober, you are making quite a lot of the Parsiness, right? Do you think that maybe they haven't said anything about the family being Parsi or the author being so on the book because they're trying to sort of promote a more universal image?
I think it's because nobody knows who the Parsis are, so why waste words on that? Because when we're writing about, let's say, for example, Toni Morrison, you will talk about it being, slave literature, Black literature, literature of oppression, and you will talk about her color, and you will talk about her race, and you will say she's an American Black writer,
Yes.
But you're not going to say that because the market...
They're so little known, I see.
Yeah. So I'll share this with you. I said this would happen.
This is the darling that came from Delhi, the cutie
All right.
pie.
So out of my research on the Parsis, I wrote a paper and I sent it. So I sent it to a race and ethnicity journal in the US. I thought, yeah, that's the ones I should send it to, right? And they wrote back saying that, thank you so much for your paper, but no, but we've never heard of your
Community.
yeah. And they said that so yeah, we kind of write about black writing and Red Indians and things like that. And of course, I gave them all bad words in my head. And then I said, who will know us? I said, the Brits will know us. And so I wrote to SOAS and they published my paper. But I'm trying to tell you that very small groups of people know. And this is a Canadian Parsi writer, a Canadian.
Yeah.
They don't
Further kind of,
know.
yes,
So,
yeah.
the mark, I mean, in India, people don't know. In Pune and in Bombay, it's the rest of India, they don't know. And it's fine, it's okay. But any kind of minority is valuable because they bring diversity. And I think this is a terrible world if we don't have difference. If we're all the same, it would just be nausea. That, like Mukul said, get some more men in here for heaven's sake. It's just that, right? We just want difference and diversity, and that's all it is. And if anything disappears, anything that goes extinct, it's a loss. And we are on the brink of it. Make no mistake about that.
No, but I
Mohini,
just want to add, there's another Parsi writer, Bapsi Sidwa, who's
Yeah.
Pakistani. And she too, I mean, she lived in the United States for the longest time and died there, but she was recognized by Pakistan. I mean, she got a lot
She
of
was
awards.
Pakistani, Sunita.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
Pakistani.
So she got a lot of awards there, but I
Yeah.
don't think her living in the United States and becoming American added anything to, them recognizing her as a Parsi writer in that sense. But I want to ask you one question. Why did he, and is Gustav a Parsi name? I mean, the rest of the names are very Parsi, right?
Yeah,
All the
Gustad
Sohrabs
is
and
a
the
Parsi.
Rustams are, yeah?
No, it is. Yeah.
Okay, because
One
I
of
didn't
those things.
recognize it. I didn't
Yeah,
recognize it as being Parsi. All right.
Yeah. It is.
Mohini, Azra wants to say something.
Yes,
Snow.
please.
My name is Azra. I live in Manhattan, New York. Snober, I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. You brought out brilliantly the Parsi community. I was born in Hyderabad, where we knew wonderful Parsis. Then we lived in Bombay, where Parsis had a major presence both in school, and we walked by the Parsi colony. And I must say, I've had tremendous admiration for the Parsis. One of my cousins is married to a Parsi woman. And I've always felt that it was my personal experience that they were a well-educated family. And I would say also very politically correct. Because they're a small community, unlike the Muslims, who might go in processions or whatever. And
But I
there
think
was, yeah, go ahead.
we're nice because we're a minority. Maybe if we were more of us, then we would also, it's the
You
way.
have more self-expression, which might not
You
be
jolly well shut up and let
like.
that you.
And they're very politically correct because I guess they're such a small community. They will go with every political move or wind, which is wonderful because they have to survive,
Yeah.
And
So
I did read the book.
careful.
And
I think I'd put it also the other way. I mean, an extension of what she just said. They're also a very non-threatening community. I mean, they don't upset the cart anywhere, whether it be Bala Sahib Thackeray or anybody else, they would,
But
be
I
with
just,
him.
in connection with this, the book was banned, wasn't it?
Yes.
Why was it
What was the
banned?
political problem there? Because it was banned by Aditya Thackeray?
You will read the book. There are typical sort of and written in a very Parsi voice, criticism of
Shiv Sena?
yeah, and also Indira Gandhi. She's not
yes.
spared. I mean, Jimmy Bilamoria is part of that whole sort of thing that happened. But it was the Shiv Sena that sort of protested and sort of wanted the book banned.
So was
I
there
see.
any truth? Sorry, was there any truth in the whole plot about Bilamoria being
Yeah,
let
yeah,
down.
Yeah.
There was truth in it.
There was truth in it. Yes.
And why was the book banned? Because of the
No, the book
negative...
was banned because of the Shiv Sena conflict.
But
Because
what
didn't they
was
write
the
about
book that led it to be being banned?
No, what was the conflict?
He said bad things about the
What the
Shiv
Shiv
Sena.
Sorry?
He said bad things about the Shiv Sena. I read a little bit for you, but there's a lot more of it in the book.
I see. Okay.
So,
But what do you feel, when any person from a country goes and settles in another? For instance, I know another Indian, Anita Rao Badami, who's become a Canadian also and who's written books on India. I've met her in Canada. Now, here are Indian writers who have lived their childhood and maybe part of their adulthood in India. Then they go abroad. And it's all, and they have a new experience there, obviously, and that experience also has a impact on them. But the subject of their works is always something related to their earlier, to their earlier experience and to India. So why is it that India, or it could be any other country, doesn't leave their minds 20 years, 30 years after having left it? They're still talking about India.
I'm going to let Mohini, and I'm going to say bye to you guys right now, but I just want to say something, which is that even when we go abroad and we become academics, if we try and teach Western literature, then we don't really get jobs. We teach comparative literature and Indian literature. So if they were to write on the Western world, a Western story, I don't know if it would be accepted. Whereas here they become sort of exotic and,
Yeah, I can understand that. And
they're
I don't know
experts,
how long
niche
this can
experts.
last.
But Moini will take us forward. I have to love and leave you guys. I have to pick up. My mother is sitting here, and I have to pick up all these sweet aunties and take them for today's function. So yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Bye-bye.
want to
Thank
thank
you.
you. Snober, I want to thank you for a good presentation, an excellent presentation, and also want to thank you for not canceling.
No.
Because you had something else.
Thank
And
you.
that's serious commitment. I appreciate that.
Love
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moini. Moini is the best, guys. Bye. See
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Then you don't know me.
Bye.
Okay, so I feel very forlorn and sort of left adrift, as the presenter has walked out. But she has a very good point there. About, when...
Wispy is
when
around
we-
somewhere. Wispy, we can talk about it.
Of course.
Where's Wispy?
So let me, Wispy, please be ready to take over. I
You
just
know,
want to finish saying what I'm
I-
saying.
Can I add something? Yes.
Yeah, just one second.
Yes.
So, it is a fact that if we Indians or whatever else go to, say, the United States and try to be experts in their literature, which is what we have, after all, grown up on, right? We've grown up on British literature. And now we have the influx of American, because everything is American nowadays. Then you see that we become one of the umpteen. And it seems kind of ridiculous that these outsiders, how can they know about white literature? How can they? So we have to perforce go into those niche areas, Yes, Wispy, go on. Or shall we let Payal start? What say?
Payal, come on.
Yeah, so
Payal,
I thought the story was quite universal.
was quite what?
Universal.
Ah.
It was quite a man dedicated to his family and the well-being of his children, and so his was a very middle class portrayal of what Bombay gentry would be like, and the character came from the peculiarities that the Parsi community has. So I thought the fact that the Parsiness of the story was left out was really not much of consequence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I mean, I haven't read this book. But a fine balance. I mean, it's the Parsis are very, very Parsi, let's say. I mean, they can't be anything else, you know. Oh, and that other point, by the way, that one of you made about continuing to write about India, you know,
Yeah, that
even
is
though
right.
that I seriously believe, A, there's an exotic element to that. And B, I think what you grow, you know, in your growing years, what you experience is the real
The,
thing. Let's say that's
mm,
what makes you. That's what molds you. That's what your let's say norms, you know, are created from. What is normal? What is good? What is right? It's all what you were taught or what you picked up, not necessarily taught, but
But more, wouldn't it be what you have picked up through the last umpteen years, and that is what it is.
can
What
I
you
also
what
add
what
why you
what
had
something?
you what
something
you
more.
were what
Yeah,
you
I.
were before, and what you are later. Maybe it's not even a straight line.
Hmm?
It's not even a
Ah,
straight line. It can be various jumps in
Satish, you
between.
froze.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I wanted to add, Vikram Seth wrote that famous novel, The Suitable Boy, and after that he wrote a book that I read, which was called An Equal Music.
Yeah,
And
Equal.
both the
and equal
characters were,
music.
Is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
and both the
Which is the
characters were
opposite of what I
non-Indian.
said.
They
Anyway,
were not
so
Indians.
Wispy, can we go on to you? Was everyone?
She's speaking, so I'd just like to her to finish that sentence. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so both that book, the characters were non-Indians. They were, Europeans, is what I remember. So for an Indian writer to carve out European characters and weave a story around them, it was a well-written story, but it was not as convincing. I didn't do that well as his, book around the Indian setup, The Suitable Boy, did. So I just wanted to make that point. When you're, writing away from your culture, for what reason it's not received that well, or probably it won't be that authentic. I'm just speculating.
Yeah. But finally,
What happened?
if you keep writing about
Come
something
here.
that you belong
Come here.
to,
Come here. Take it over.
Hmm.
if you write
It
about
becomes,
something you belong to, if you go out of your country, you might have lived in India for
yeah.
just 15 years or 16 years. Before you're 20, you moved out and you've lived outside for 12. So really, do you think, I don't know, do you think that the first 20 years of your life in India are so embedded in you that even when you go abroad in 20 years and 30 years of being abroad, it's still
Hmm.
that India? And that's not today's India, but the
Hmm.
India that you experienced, which is what is going to inspire you.
Hmm. Even Jhumpa Lahiri, if you read upon her,
Yeah,
she hardly lived in
yeah,
India,
yeah,
but all her stories are,
yeah,
Indian, about Indians and Indian way of life.
yeah.
Except when she goes to Italy and suddenly
Yeah.
writes something in Italian.
Italian, yes. That's also very.
Queen, come
How
on.
good is she an author in Italian? Does anybody, is she a huge success in Italian readers?
So, I mean, I don't know, I don't
Okay.
know what Italians thought. But then
Okay.
I read the English translation of her
Of
Yeah.
it.
Italian book.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it's
ironically,
just
it is
what,
called In Other Words. The name of the book is In Other
Okay.
Words.
Smart.
So,
Oh.
yeah, very smart. But
but
I
it's
have a
quite,
point about
yeah.
this, the kind of work that we discussed. This is about Gujarat or whatever little experience I have here. I've stayed in Gujarat all my life, but whenever I've seen minority communities coming up for any kind of a selection, whether it's a job selection or any kind of a selection, usually minority communities who do not belong to the host institution are normally dismissed. But Parsis have this exception because the stereotypical idea is that Parsis are culturally very refined, which is true, of course.
Mm.
But in case if we go to a place like Navsari, we also see the more commercial side of this community, wherein they are commercially very successful. And to some extent, like any other community, you will find good as well as bad people thriving and thriving very well. doing very well for themselves. And as Snober ma'am had rightly pointed out, that not all Parsis live in large bungalows and mansions and very large
Yes.
places, beautiful artifacts. Some of them are modest as well. So we have to accept the fact that there are all kinds of people in a race. But yes, having said that, she is just right about the representative community. When we send something to a global journal or an international journal, and the community is a very small one that is not globally recognized, then they do not have much of a focus. So they say that you do not belong to our journal. We are sorry. Very few journals are nice enough to accept. SOAS, School of Oriental and African Studies, may have accepted her paper because they have a very large chunk of their studies devoted to India. So that is why she may have
Yeah, so the
had some
diversity of
focus.
India would be recognized. Yeah.
Yeah, so no matter how well she writes, she may not get the kind of attention, the scholastic or critical attention that she rightly deserves. So she's really right on that front. Yes. So thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Vispi, over to you. Are you able to put on your video, Vispi? Is there a problem? Because we would like to see you as well.
Here I am.
Yes, great. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think this is a very Parsi novel. The sense of creating this community of Parsis, which, of course, abroad, people may not have even heard of Parsis, depending. I think in Canada, there are enough Parsis to, I think, be identified. But I think what he's managed to do, I feel.
Satish sir is trying to say something. I don't know.
Satish, you have to unmute. If you want to be heard. Please unmute, Satish. Now bolo.
Can you come closer to the mic?
Yes, I'm really straining and I'm not sure if I'm catching everything.
Okay, yeah. Is this better?
Better, much better.
Okay. So I see this as a novel that's really focused on Parsis and their quirks, because I think that is a sort of, how shall I put it, something that Parsis are known for.
So is that a sort of comic aspect?
Partly comic, partly
not. Okay.
Complimentary, even complimentary. This feeling amongst Parsis that there is an image that one needs to live up to. May not always. I'll just, I'm reminded of what my grandmother used to say. She used to read the Parsi paper, the Jame Jamshed. It's a well-known Parsi paper. And if she read of someone, a Parsi, who was dishonest or hadn't done quite the sort of things you'd approve of, she would say, I'd say it in Gujarati first, those who can understand, Parsi thaine keme mukido. How could he do that being a Parsi? And my father used to get very irritated and say, well, Parsis haven't descended straight from heaven for you to think they will always do wonderful things. But the stereotype that people have is
yes,
somebody who's honest, reliable, will do things the honest way, not with subterfuge. And I think to some extent that is the sort of correct picture. But as was said earlier also, every community has the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. So they can't have a stereotype that holds true for everybody. But
but largely.
Large. And I think what Rohinton Mistry has succeeded in doing is to really create that sort of Parsi community, and where you have the typical people, like, I'm sorry, just give me a second. I have to just, yeah, Dr. Mungekar, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you back. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. It's just returning my call. So the people we see that in the novel do represent these certain idiosyncrasies, if you want to call them that, like that lady, Mrs. Katpitya, who's, in the what we were shown in that picture, she's always on her balcony. So she's the one who sees everything that's happening, and comments on this one's behavior, and look at the way that girl is talking to that boy. Is this what we would encourage? So you do have characters like that. So I don't think they are all, well, they may be exaggerated a bit, but they do represent a lot of the,
So the portraiture of the Parsi community is quite realistic, let's say.
Yes, I think so. I think so. And the sort of loyalty to friends, like Gustave feels with Jimmy Billamoria, then feels let down when he's perhaps made use of. And Dinshaji and he, they work in the bank together. So they have that sense of companionship. I think all that holds good. And another point that was being made about the book being banned, I don't think it was banned in India. Because I was with the university at that time, and we had prescribed it. Actually, it was because I was part of the Board of Studies in English, and we thought it was a good choice. But as Snober mentioned, it was those references to the Shiv Sena and Maharashtrians that the university thought offensive, and it was taken off our syllabus. So I don't think it was banned as such in the country. It was.
Vispi, I was wondering what you consider the position of this book. I mean, as per it's the first. Is it the best? I've always thought of Fine Balance was the best. But you have read this one, and maybe you've read them all. I don't know.
Well,
what do you say?
I remember Family Matters that he's written, which also revolves around that typical brother-sister relationship, where if I'm not, I'm just going by my memory, because you will also find in the earlier set of Parsis, I'm not talking of a modern generation, where a lot of them didn't get married. And so the family would then, as they grew older, stay together and get on each other's nerves. And, and I think that is what he's portrayed. So he has picked up these details. And in this one, I think is really authentic, if I may call it that, of Parsis in that.
So are these the three big novels? I really don't know much about Rohinton Mistry. So has he written a lot more, or are these three novels the thing?
This is the fourth, isn't it?
Huh?
Isn't this the fourth?
Which fourth? Which is the fourth?
Has he written three before?
Family
I've read
Matters,
Family Matters,
Fine Balance.
Fine Balance, one
And
other,
such a
and
long
then this,
time.
right?
Which one?
Family,
I don't. I'm just wondering. I
Okay,
can look up
okay.
at
the ones I know is a Fine Balance, this one, and Family Matters. I don't know. Maybe there are, and that haven't read them. And obviously, these were all written some time ago. It's not like it's a recent Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
I have a feeling that when I was a kid, I kept seeing this book, Such a Long Journey.
mhm.
I kept seeing it, like as a young person. I'm not saying 5 or something, maybe college going or something. It was all over the place. And this person, you know, on the cover, long journey. And I looked at it, it was a fat book. And I thought, oh God, this one journey, I'm not going on. He's a very good writer and all that. Something very depressing. I mean, I know that Snober said, no, they're not depressive. And she, you know, got some evidence and some support for them. So much pain, there's so much trouble that every character seems to see. Anyway,
I
so
think there is another one that he has written, but it's not a novel. I think it's a collection of short stories. You know,
mhm.
so this makes it the fourth.
You're right.
And just
You're
an
right.
interesting point is that when I was in school, in my class there were more Parsis than Maharashtrians. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. And also that, yes, it's true. I don't know whether it was Satish or someone else who remarked that there can be good and bad people everywhere. There can be good and
Of
bad among the
course.
Parsi community or any other community. But the Parsis do enjoy among Indians
Yes.
a great
A very
standing of being,
excellent reputation.
sorry? Yeah,
A
they are
very excellent
philanthropists,
reputation.
you know. They're philanthropists, they're sweet, they're creative, they're friends. Like I've kept in touch with my Parsi friends for a long time. So they enjoy a very good reputation.
They do.
Maybe good or bad, but they do enjoy a very good reputation. And they're philanthropic, whether you have the Godrejes or the Tatas or whoever, you know.
Oh, yeah, iconic.
And they
Absolutely.
are very apolitical. I think that's the thing that stands out about them.
I just have
Very
Very
one
smartly
comment.
so.
Sorry.
There doesn't seem to be any
Yes.
reason for them to be political. They're a very tiny community.
Apolitical, as in, they mind their business, they're
They mind their business,
industrious,
yeah.
they're
They don't have
industrious,
a,
they're busy creating, they're not, I mean, that instinct to create and contribute is way more than other minority communities, where they're, to tear things down, basically.
yeah.
So, yeah.
As long as you're minding your own business and doing it properly, the politics doesn't bother them too much, I think. Yeah.
You know, in Babsi Sidhwa's Ice Candy Man,
Yeah, it's
Cracking India.
Candyman, yeah.
Remember, there is that meeting organized by the leader of the Parsi community. And in the meeting, there are some folks who want to air their very strong opinions, which might be pro India or anti India, because this is just before partition happens. But he very clearly says, wait, don't speak out. First, realize how small you are,
Yeah, true.
and that it is in your interest to shut up
Shut up.
and just support the side that wins. It's very
Yeah.
practical.
Very
Very
practical. Yeah.
I just have one comment, and Vispy, maybe you can add to that. This book was written in 1991, I think, and it was banned at that time or whatever it was. At least in Maharashtra, they had a lot of trouble. And the few lines that Snober read out about the Shiv Sena and about the speaking of Marathi, I feel if he had written this book in 2025,
Yeah,
it would have
correct.
got
Yeah.
banned even today.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
nothing seems to have changed. It's very depressing that from 1991 to now we're very
Yes.
consistent in our views on what we're going to ban.
Oh,
So
things have gone worse.
it was not banned, it was removed from the syllabus under pressure. So it was not, but I can say
Same
today
thing.
it's going to
Same
be,
thing would have
today
happened
is
today
going
in
to be banned.
2025.
We were way more liberal back then. Today it's going to be certainly banned. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Sure.
So that's what I
Okay,
said.
so anyone else has anything to contribute? Otherwise, we can begin to wind up.
Shaheen? Who's Shaheen?
Now, Shaheen, would you like to? iPhone, would you like to?
Kaveri is around somewhere.
Yeah, Kaveri hasn't said anything. Kaveri is.
There she is.
Yeah, there she is. So Kaveri is going to be next. Anyway, this is what I wanted to talk about. Next time.
Yeah.
Which is the 12th. All right, next Sunday. We have chosen to invite 2 authors. And Kaveri is going to be in conversation with one of them, Jayanta Sengupta, who has written a collection of short stories. And in the subtitle, he calls them unusual. Right? Am I right, Kaveri? Unusual. Such and such and other unusual short stories. I read, I was quite tickled by that, and I absolutely read them. Okay, yes, Kaveri would like to say something about that. Would you like to?
About the presentation next week? No, I'll talk when we meet.
Keep it for next time.
Yeah.
All right, but the great thing is that there are two authors, coming. I think it's very important to talk to authors, and I think it has always been very special for us when we have authors. Now, of course, the authors are not Shakespeare, for God's sake. Okay? Now, if we happen to come upon one, oh, we'd be so lucky. They're not Shakespeare, but they are the ones who have gone through the process of creativity, of putting something together, putting it out there, and found someone to put it on paper and distribute. So I think it's going to be a two-edged thing. One, the quality and the content of their writing, and the other would be the publication game, because that's huge. Now, the other writer is Sylvia Dyer. Now, she has dementia, she's very old, and she cannot speak. So her daughter, Marilyn, will be coming, and she says, I'll just be speaking for her. So it's like having the author. And that's a Penguin publication. Different kind of story altogether. So please come, even though it's not Shakespeare. But there are two people who are not
Are we going?
Shakespeare, who have gone very different publishing journeys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I
Malini,
would thank Snober if she was still around. I did thank her, and I will again. Snober is very exceptional, She's always interesting. She will never. I've told her, even if you wanted to bore someone, you couldn't. Okay, she's super. And Sunita, thank you so much, because if you hadn't been there, this show would not have gone on the road, for God's sake. Girls, I was totally stuck. I couldn't enter Zoom. I didn't know what was wrong. Thank you, Sunita.
I
Mohini,
apologize on behalf of all the software companies in the world for creating products people cannot get into. These guys, I tell you.
Chatterjee, your balloons are climbing and climbing away.
Monali, thank you for that. Okay, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Till next Sunday. See you
bye.
then.
See you.